Hello, yes, my name's Justin Packshaw. My day job, I'm chairman of a fantastic travel company called Jura Experiences, and also director of a jewelry company, which I have with my wife called Deroma. And my great love is the outdoors. I used to be a soldier and I sailed for Britain for a while. And I've been lucky enough to have gone to the four corners of the world, where I've learned an enormous amount about teams and people and myself, actually, which I value very much. And on the back of it, I always try and do some science or something around philanthropy on these trips, and which it really has been very rewarding, actually. Um, well, it was a mad journey, if I'm honest. It was an old school adventure in that it was long in duration and quite audacious in its objective. Our aim was to go from one side, from the Russian base called Novo, which is below South Africa, all the way to the South Pole. Originally, we wanted to go via the Pole of Inaccessibility, which is the furthest point on the landmass of Antarctica from the sea. But we had terrible weather. We were a team of two, and we were kite skiing unsupported. The trip has been tried by several people. A small handful of people have actually been successful. And it was extraordinarily brilliant. It was brutally hard. We were collaborating with NASA and the European Space Agency and and Stanford University in doing some really stellar research around the environment. If you think that 90% of the world's fresh water is in a big ice cube that sits on top of Antarctica, it's pretty important that that's remains stable. And so we were looking at that. And then we were doing a whole mass of stuff around our physiology and psychology with regard to space being the next frontier. Antarctica is a good petri dish for actually sort of looking at how, in a one-dimensional way, people will act when they're stretched and conditions are quite difficult. And the reason we catered for 80 days, just in case that was worst case scenario, we did it in 57 because I think I always imagine it would take us about 55. We got pretty slick by sort of day 20, 30. So even with the difficult weather, we were able to get ahead of ourselves a bit. The unique thing around the trip that we were doing, which was titled Chasing the Light, was the research that we were doing. And we were working with, well, the world's best, really, NASA, and the European Space Agency, and then the Snyder Lab out of Stanford University. And predominantly, we were doing two sets of research. The first was around the environment, really, and we were looking at radiation levels, UV levels, and then sort of basic things around snow density, meteorology. No one really goes into the interior of Antarctica. So to get that data and then run that with satellite data that the space agencies use is vital. And that was fascinating. And they're crunching through that now. And I think it's going to actually come out with some very interesting stuff. And the second part was around our physiology and also our psychology with regard to space being the next frontier. And what does it actually look like for humans who are actually going to go into space, who aren't specialized astronauts? And Antarctica is the perfect petri dish for that. When you get onto the plateau, it is pristine. There's no virus, there's no bacteria, and it's white. So there's very little context as to keep you entertained. And also it's difficult to live in. Our average temperature on the trip was over -30. And so it kicks up a whole mass of quite interesting bits of data, which will be useful for future generations going into space. So that's what we were doing. So at the moment, I am really getting absorbed and consumed by climate change. And the reason being, I mean, in the past on my expeditions, I've tried to help and raise money for important causes. As an ex-soldier, I've taken wounded soldiers on trips and tried to raise money around their causes and helping them. And then recently I was thinking that, 30 years ago, I first went to the high Arctic, and on my last trip, I visibly could see the difference. And I've been lucky enough to have sailed around the world. I've stood on the top of Everest. I've been to the North and South Pole several times, and I've just crossed Antarctica. And so I've got a fairly privileged view as to the magnificence of Mother Nature, but also to the fragility of where we are. And so I want to get a bit more vocal about that, and really sort of understanding how we can ignite, inspire everybody as to the solution, not to what the problems are. I mean, we are the solutions. And so that's really becoming a sort of quite important aspect of me. And this trip that I've just done was very much around that, yeah, and hopefully the data that we kick up with the space agencies is going to help that. And I've got another 2 trips that I'm doing. One is around sustainability. We're going to try and bicycle the empty quarter, which is 1,000 miles, but more importantly, all our support vehicles, everything that we use to allow us to do that is going to be run off sustainable power, which is going to be through the sun. And then I'm trying to kite surf, across the Atlantic. And we're doing, we're building a really amazing hydrofoil, which is made out of recycled plastic. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think anything where human endeavor is at the heart of it, but actually the message you're telling is around trying to get people to sit up and get involved in something which is incredibly important for us as it stands today. I think that's a very good question. It's another area that I really like focusing on. And I think with regard to the commercial sector, we have to create a conscientious culture, which starts at the top and goes all the way down. So it's around the ethos, it's around values, it's around principles, but how that actually unfolds so it's realistic and it's not just something which is talked about. It actually becomes embedded in the ethos of those companies and how those companies strategize what their future is. I'm a very big believer in momentum through collaboration. We have to kind of unify a very positive message and make sure it is a positive message. It's a message about change. It's a message about understanding and unifying that momentum so we can actually achieve something. And I think that starts by solving the right challenges, by asking the right questions. And I think a lot of time the wrong questions are asked and a lot of time is wasted. And it's looking at what those challenges are and what those businesses or organizations can actually do around things which are realistic goals. And that really fascinates me. And, with my past, which has been very varied from being a soldier to a professional, I went to war, to being a professional sailor, and then having my own businesses. I think it's valued, and all of that's underpinned by the fact that I've been lucky enough to lead expeditions to the 4 corners of the world, where I've seen firsthand the importance of this. And then as an undercurrent, also seeing how you can mold and inspire people within those my trips to go and do things which are pretty difficult. And so I think, hopefully that is a message which I'm really quite qualified now to be able to talk about. So I think, well, that old adage, if you want a job done, give it to someone who's busy, is very true. I've got a really good team who work with me. I mean, through Duro, my travel company, my partners and I are really striving to showcase how sustainable businesses can be in place. And obviously, you know, we're in the travel industry, which is part of the problem. But people aren't going to stop traveling. So we have put together a toolkit of how realistically, not just saying, you know, how you do things, what you can actually do. And we've put that into a foundation, Conscious Travel Foundation. And we're B Corp. We were the first B Corp travel company, luxury travel company in the UK. And I think having good people around you, which helps, but also I'm very lucky because I'm in an industry which I love, and I've always been passionate about travel, from being fascinated by old school explorers, the Shackletons, the Amundsens, Scots, and Mallory going up Everest. I've been lucky enough to have replicated all of those trips. And so I think, yeah, you make it happen. And I love being busy. I'm fascinated by trying to make myself better. I think humans are meant to excel, and it's just a question of really looking at how you do that, and discipline and effort obviously come into that equation. But equally, all of that needs to be rolled up into, I love what I'm doing, and it fuels my soul. I have a lot of fun, which means that every day, and I genuinely mean this, every day for me is really exciting. And as I said, I have fantastic teams around me, and we all believe in what we're trying to do, in being conscientious and having as much empathy as possible, but still understanding that, you know, we have to craft business and you have to be very clinical and clever. And so, yeah, I mean, all around that, you know, I'm in my late 50s now, so I've had a lot of time to make mistakes, which I'm a huge believer in. Failure, I think, is an important part of the journey. And looking at, you know, always trying to get better, make other people better, and be as caring in building a business, which obviously you want to grow, and ambition is a part of that, but to do it in a way which is conscientiously thought through. That's our aim and my aim. So success, I mean, success is such a funny thing, but basically I think from my learning curve, I think the first one is belief. I think to really understand and believe that you're capable of doing stuff, stepping into the unknown. It's always a frightening thing to do, but even if you fail, you'll grow and you'll learn, and something will happen. So I think belief is enormously important. Motivation, I think, again, is another absolutely imperative building block. You know, decisions you make today, they will shape your destiny. Make the invisible visible, all that. You know, I did a TED talk on that very thing. And again, that comes through motivation, discipline. And strive for excellence is another thing I think is terribly important. You know, as Steve Jobs said, be a yardstick of excellence. And he's damn right. In your life, be as brilliant as you can be, but also make it other people as brilliant as possible, because you're only as good as the people around you, and the combination of that force is vast. And I've seen it time and time again on expeditions when, you know, you put together people, and sometimes the people who you think might be the weak link end up pulling everyone together and being the strongest. And then I think the final one for me, which is a strange one, is have fun, is to try and enjoy everything you do. Obviously, it's been a super tough time with the pandemic, and sort of moving forward, just looking at how we can craft things so that they are really productive and they're positive, and you create entities which are full of empathy and compassion. And yeah, I think that's for me, those four. If you put that all into a cocktail and give it a good shake, it certainly helped me, and you know, I'm super excited about where I am and what lies ahead. So yeah, I'm super stoked about Juro experiences and what we're doing. We're really going to go and pioneer experiential travel and the aspect of doing it as sustainably as possible. And as I said, we've started the Conscious Travel Foundation, which we're setting out how you can actually do that, the actual reality of that. I'm going to get very vocal around climate change, and I'm going to do that around some really fun expeditions. And one of them is to kitesurf across the Atlantic, and the other is to do the empty quarter, again, using just sustainable power. So yeah, I think, from a commercial side, very excited. Also, my wife and I have a jewelry brand called Doroma, which is over 15 years old now. And again, that's super exciting. So yeah, it's all very good. My children, seeing them grow, and hopefully being curious and interested in life and interesting as individuals. So a lot on the canvas, but it's all good fun.